Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Monday, July 13th, 2026. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, all the way from Wild Rose Country. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is the sensational Sheila Gunn Reid. How are you doing there, Sheila?
I am doing great. I am a little sad that you have quit looking up what the stupid day is
I
today.
did. I couldn't find anything I could attach a gag to.
Oh, so you just do it for a gag?
Yes, you didn't notice that?
No, I just thought you did it to be a weirdo. It's Embrace Your Geekness Day
Yeah.
today. And I know that you are a geek, like you're a Star
Really?
Trek geek. Yeah, you're a weird pop culture geek. You're a comic book geek. So I'm sort of surprised you didn't pick that one.
Well, you know what? It does drive Lady Menzoid absolutely mental that I can remember dialogue, almost word perfect, from TV shows and movies of yesterdecade. It makes her mad, and I don't understand why, Sheila, because I think
You
that's
don't?
a pretty good talent, albeit a useless one in terms of monetization. But before we go on, I'll make it up to you. I'll do a Festivus-like airing of the grievances.
Oh
Sheila,
no.
right now in the Greater Toronto Area, we're in the midst of a heat wave. It's in
Must
the
be
mid
nice.
30s, feeling more like the mid 40s. And here's my grievance. Every year, the entire mainstream media, as soon as we hit a heat wave, they bring on an expert and they give us advice. Are you waiting for it? Number one, find a shady area so you see the sun isn't directly on you. Number two, keep hydrated by drinking lots of water. And number three, wear a hat and sunglasses. Sheila, where would we be? Where would the adult population of Southern Ontario be without this advice every single July via the mainstream media?
I thought, and it's so stupid, right? Like, no, I thought I would just stand outside in full view of the blazing ball of gas in the sky that's cooking us alive. I thought I would just stand there and not find a way to be cooler. Thank you for telling me. I thought you were going to lean into the people who say that it's climate change. It's
Yeah.
an
Oh,
indicator
yeah.
that your comfortable SUV is spelling the end of all human civilization, as though we don't have heat waves every single year, as though we don't have fires every single year, as though we don't have floods every single year. It's always something new and astounding to these people and a reason to tax us to death.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I was out the beautiful Donald Somerville pool that's in East End, Toronto. Olympic-sized pool, outdoors. It is truly a Toronto gem. And I struck up a conversation with a friendly guy, and he said basically, well, what are you going to do given climate change? And I thought, no, there's no reason to get into 'twas ever thus and what did in the dinosaurs, and that we've only had accurate temperature records for about 200 odd years. I just said, have a nice swim, and I paddled
Yeah.
off.
I had a interaction with some guy not all that long ago, and it was at the rugby field. And he was like, watching these girls are just as tough as the boys. And I'm like, really? Are they? Are they? And he's like, well, they're playing with a lot of heart. And I'm like, well, that's not the same thing. And I say this as like a mom with her daughter out on that field. Like, are they really? And he's like, well, just sort of force these people to think about the nonsense that they're spouting to total strangers. Like, just anyway. Speaking of spouting
But
nonsense
Sheila,
to total
you know what?
strangers,
I'll just put this cap on it. What disturbs me is this is the result of indoctrination
oh,
via,
for
via
sure.
the post-secondary schools, the media, the Liberal Party of Canada. And people actually believe this. And maybe that's why Carney is still ahead in the polls for some reason.
I don't know if you saw that last week. I wrote it up for albertafactcheck.com. For those of you who aren't following along there, it's a little project that I do with my friend Corey Morgan from the Western Standard,
Yes.
where we debunk the madness of the mainstream media and the nonsense that they spewed the night before about the independence movement. But it was an article in the Financial Post that I found very fascinating that Carney is the worst prime minister in the last 60 years. And
Yep.
you have to remember, we had two Trudeaus in the mix there. So that's quite a feat. And yet, people still seem to believe that he's doing a good job. So that his popularity is not, usually popularity declines when economic performance declines. He's experiencing the exact opposite phenomenon, and I don't understand it.
And Sheila, if I may add, the numbers are actually worse when you consider two factors. One, during Carney's time, there has been no global war, that at least a war that Canada's involved in, and there's been no global pandemic. We could
Or
use those
recession.
as excuses once upon a time. What has he got?
Right. Or no global recession, as was the case with what Stephen Harper had to face. And then, they sort of throw in, well, it's the tariffs. Well, Mexico's not in the same boat as us.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, their economy is not facing the same fall off a cliff that we've had with Mark Carney, and they are experiencing tariffs and the falling apart of the USMCA. So, anyways, it's the TV. You got to fix the TV, people. Like, you got to help your grandparents tell them how to use the remote. You got to get them on something else. Anyways, I should tell everybody what we're doing around here, because we're 13 minutes into the show, and as is the case so frequently with David Menzies, we get her right in the weeds, right in the rhubarb, right off the start, which is real hard to get it back. So if you are watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. If you want to support the work that we do out of the goodness of your heart, instead of what Mark Carney makes you do with the mainstream media, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's our page chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we are hereby reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best time permitting. I must tell you, though, I have two things I have to film right after the show wraps up. Otherwise, I'm going to cause a bottleneck in the production team. So that's just a word to the wise. So if you have chats, get them in early. If you're watching us on YouTube, same rules apply. But their page chat is called a super chat. And if you miss a live version of the show, but you just love Sheila and David so much you want to leave them some money, you can do that by way of a paid comment called a super thanks. I think that's it. David, let's get into the shooting in Toronto.
Yes. Once upon a time, I've lived here my entire life except for 4 years, Sheila, and this was unheard of. And now it seems that Toronto is identifying as, Chicago, where weekend mass shootings are commonplace. And once again, and the mainstream media did not fail to disappoint me. It's too bad I can't go on to Bet365 and make a wager. I just started the Swiss timing stopwatch I have at home. How quick will it be before the likes of the CBC and the Toronto Star trot out the anti-gun advocates to basically go,
Right off the hop.
They will use these tragedies to further advocate for their gun grab. Of course, not mentioning the fact that in the case of the Latin Street Festival, Sheila, by all indications, everybody involved in the shooting and the victims were gangbangers. Not realizing that, Sheila, I think it's extremely rare that gangbangers follow the gun rules in terms of, getting a PAL, getting legally approved firearms. And this is the second tragedy. It's the fact that certain politicians, certain academics, so many in the mainstream media are going to use this as a means in which to go after hunters, gun collectors, sport shooters, you name it. You know the drill even better than I do, Sheila. Yeah. And sure enough, that's what we had, a headline in the CBC, quote, advocates speak out against gun violence following troubling weekend of shootings. But they don't talk about throwing away these gangbangers in a cell and tossing the key. No. It's the gun that is the problem. Why not attack what we've seen in recent years, Sheila, in terms of joke parole and bail uh, regulations
Right.
that allow the same violent thugs out on the street to create this carnage.
Yeah, just to button this up a little bit, it was, I guess, a Latin street festival, the Salsa Festival.
Yeah,
Is
there
that
was
what
a
it
couple
was?
of shootings, and one was outside. It was on Polson Pier outside the
Yeah,
Rebel nightclub. No relation to Rebel News, folks. We had
right.
nothing to
No,
do with
a
it.
nightclub shooting. Well, that obviously is involving the duck hunters. Um, yeah, so there was a shooting at the Salsa on St. Clair Festival that left two people dead.
Yep.
And then shots were fired in the area of Polson Pier early Sunday morning. And that was an exchange of gunfire between two people. After the shooting, one of the two people, again, this is obviously your deer hunters at work. After the shooting, one of the two people allegedly stole a vehicle from a rideshare driver with customers on board. So carjacked a rideshare, Uber, whatever, with people in the vehicle. I think it's at 3:30
Jeez.
in the morning. Toronto police said the individual then struck pedestrians and cars while fleeing the scene. So they located three people with gunshot wounds. Victims were transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And then comes the crazy people in the anti-gun activist movement. We've got Wendy Sukier or Kukier. I refuse to learn her name. I see her name all over the place. I refuse to learn her name out of my lack of respect for her and her opinions. She's from the Coalition for Gun Control. She says that one violent weekend shouldn't spark panic, but then she says, but it means that we should grab all the guns. So she says every shooting is concerning. Of course, and every shooting makes us feel less secure, but you have to look at the overall picture. I'm trying, lady, and it doesn't show me what you think it shows. If we look specifically at firearms incidents, they have gone up, but firearms homicides have actually leveled out. And so she said, this is the push now to disarm people. But as you rightly point out, the people shooting up street festivals and carjacking Ubers at 3:30 in the morning with people in them, then going on to hit pedestrians and other cars, they aren't the people who are sitting in the RPAL course with you.
No.
These are illegal firearms, and any gun control measure you force on the rest of us doesn't touch these people at all. And in fact, it draws police resources away from the real bad guys.
100%. And, I'll tell you, Sheila, I mean, whether, it's a nightclub setting, whether we're closing down streets for a street festival, summer in Canada, it's always too short a season. We only have so many limited weeks in which we can go outdoors in a t-shirt and shorts, and people are going out to have a good time, are going out to enjoy a festival. There were children there, there were families there, there were seniors there, and just the entitlement, and the lack of respect for these gangbangers. Of course, listen to me. I mean, these are people with illegal weapons and don't give a rodent's rectum about using them. But just to go out and ruin it for everyone, create a deadly situation, I guess I'm saying the selfishness is off the charts. But when you're talking about people with murder on their mind, selfishness, I suppose, is a very low sin down the ladder.
Yeah, and I noticed how Toronto police describe this. So in their press release on X, where everybody gets their news, they describe it as an active shooter on St. Clair and Arlington Avenue at 8:12. Reports of a shooting, multiple injuries, police on scene, public advised to stay away from the area. Further information to follow. But their active shooter was a exchange of gang violence.
Yeah.
And that's how it should have been described, I think. I don't know. When people hear active shooter, you think about what happened in Montreal with the kid with the manifesto. You think about, the shootings at a school that's an active shooter event. This is just the gang war using this street festival as a battleground.
Yeah, and on the issue, Sheila, of active shooter, Jay Bannister reached out to me yesterday. He is a former police officer of 24 years with the Toronto Police Service and now runs the superb Mad Lab Press. And he was highly critical of that misinformation. Like you said, when I hear active shooter, I'm thinking it's still ongoing. There's still somebody out there with a gun. He's holed up somewhere, or he's walking down the street and he's, shooting innocent people. But what I got from Jay is that it was kind of one and done. The gangbangers shot other gangbangers and then they made their escape. That's not an active shooter. So I don't know why the police use that information to, I guess, further terrorize people at this festival.
Yeah, and then I noticed, no surprise there, on the Poulson Pier shooting, a Brampton man.
That's become our Florida man, by the way.
You know what? I think a lot of times these crime writers just Brampton man, so they don't even have to erase the whole headline when they're writing copy. They just backspace all the way back to Brampton man and then just fill in the blanks. Brampton man is facing 10 charges after an early morning shooting at Poulson Pier, exchange of gunfire between two people just before 3:30 in the morning. And then we talked about how then a rideshare got carjacked. Omar Abdul Singate, 25, of Brampton, has been charged with 4 counts of forcible confinement. That would go to the carjacking and the kidnapping, discharging a firearm recklessly, unauthorized possession of a firearm, possessing a firearm while prohibited, which means he's already faced prohibition, robbery, dangerous operation causing bodily harm, and dangerous operation. Police did not have any description of the second suspect involved in the shooting. So that guy's still at large, I suppose. Anyways, for sure, the only way to deal with this is to crack down on people trying to get their moose tags in the fall.
Is he out on bail yet, by the way, Sheila?
I guarantee you he is. Like, I don't know if he is, but come on. He's either behind bars awaiting bail, which he will get, or he's been released by this morning by a justice of the peace.
Well, that is way more problematic than taking away firearms from legal law-abiding Canadians. And by the way, I should correct myself. I said Brampton man is Canada's version of Florida man, because everyone mocks Florida. You see so many news stories. A Florida man was arrested for impaired driving as he drove down the wrong lane of a highway in a riding lawnmower or something like that. The thing is, Sheila, it's not that there's a disproportionate number of crazy people in Florida. It's the fact that their freedom of information rules are so liberal in terms of being accessible and obtainable that all of this information is readily available. Yep. Whereas if it was Ohio or Michigan or wherever, you go through more hoops. That's the real reason for the Florida man syndrome.
Yeah, their sunshine laws are incredibly good. That's why you even get like jailhouse conversations of people who are awaiting trial. They haven't even been convicted in. You can get those jailhouse conversations and they're just out there. Like, I remember the Casey Anthony trial. Do you remember Casey Anthony? Horrible woman, killed her 3-year-old, although she got off on it. Everybody knows she did it. Casey, you can sue me if you want to. I know you killed that little girl. Then she, like, while she was awaiting trial, everybody was watching the conversations she was having with her parents behind bars and lying about where she had put her daughter's corpse. We have this video from our friend Leviathan, and he says, while an active shooter scenario, gang violence scenario, was unfolding at the Salsa Festival in Toronto, attendees were laughing and even saying good for them. What on earth?
You know, I read that too, Sheila. I'm not sure I understand the context. When they're saying good for them, who's the them? The shooters?
I guess. Let's watch.
Beautiful situation. It's just like the movie you're watching now. TV, but it's an active shooting scene right here, Toronto police. Good for them. Good for them. Controlling, seizing the
I got to tell you, Sheila, the audio sounded like Charlie
Sucks.
Brown's teacher.
You got a hearing aid.
I don't know could you make it out on your end?
No, I heard him say, good for them, good for them. Now, is he saying good for them, good for the police? Good for the shooters?
Yeah.
I'm inclined to think the worst of Toronto people, so don't ask me to psychoanalyze the clip we just saw.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the crux of the matter. Who does them refer to? Are they saying good for them, the police shutting down the festival, or good that there was gun violence at a festival, which has now canceled the festival, as you can see. So how is that good for anybody?
Right. We also have another video from Leviathan, who says, after dealing with the shooting at the Salsa Festival, which we just watched the police response to, TPS had to neutralize a man who allegedly stole a car and ran people over with it. And we realized that this is the Brampton man from earlier.
Some kind of shooting. I think he just got killed by the cops, to be honest. Yeah, he's on a stretcher. He doesn't look responsive. I'm pretty sure he's dead. The cops just came here and shot him up, but I'm pretty sure he was also involved in the shooting. This is the car that he was in, and he hit a whole bunch of people, ran them over coming out of Rebel nightclub. We heard a whole bunch of gunshots going off, like 8 gunshots, and then the cops caught up with him, and I think they killed him.
They didn't.
Because he don't look responsive at all.
Okay. Efron tells me this is a minute long. I don't know if we're going to see anything else interesting. So that's the Brampton man in question. So I'm going to guess he's not out on bail. Why? Because he's in the hospital, because the cops neutralized him, as Leviathan said.
Tell me, Sheila, while he recuperates in hospital, should he be found guilty, which would seem likely, will that count as time served to lessen the sentence?
I don't know. This is Canada, so probably. If he's here on a temporary visa, he's going to stay here forever. It's a mess. What's going on in Brampton?
Somewhere the CEO of Tim Hortons weeps.
Yeah. Let's hit an ad break and come back to some friendly good news stuff, like the Independence Pancake Breakfast.
Yes.
In Calgary at Ranchman's yesterday morning. I was there with 1,000 or so of my new friends and a bunch of fellow travelers in the independence movement. So we'll hit an ad break and we'll go back. Come back to that on the other side.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms.
Many of our men and women
They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's BYRNA.ca/rebel.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over.
and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
Do you have pride fatigue? Are you exhausted by the thought of another pride season force-feeding rainbows down our throats like it's mandatory? If so, I'm Lise Merle from Rebel News, and I'd like you to meet Buck the Rainbow Unicorn, my 3-time Amazon best-selling children's book that stormed to the #1 spot on Amazon's global hot new releases in the wild 2 weeks before Christmas. And I'm just wondering, would it be possible to keep him trotting up the charts? You see, Buck is convinced that he's a rainbow unicorn. From his lustrous mane and sparkling feet, he's a full drama queen. Until one day, a wise little girl and his family gently break it to him that he's actually not a rainbow unicorn, but a perfectly healthy horse. The reviews for Buck the Rainbow Unicorn are unreal. This is a must-read for all children. Well done. A wonderful take on a currently twisted topic in today's society, and a refreshing message for kids. A heartwarming, laugh-out-loud rhyming story about honesty, imagination, and self-acceptance. This Pride season, skip the fetish parades and instead share the gift of truth, love, and prairie pride. Visit bucktherainbowunicorn.com to order your copy today. Thanks.
Sheila, am I violating Rebel News HR procedure by
Always.
stating that I absolutely love our colleague, Lise Merle? I mean, her voice, her cheekiness. I'll stop the list right there before I really get in trouble, but she's such a gem.
She's an absolute delight. I'm so pleased that she's my best friend. And I agree with you about everything you just said. Everything. But yes, you generally always are violating some sort of HR policy.
Yes, that's
to
true.
put that caveat before you say things. So I alluded to it before we hit the ad break. Keith Wilson.
Yes.
From Let Alberta Decide. We also know him as the convoy lawyer during the Freedom Convoy. Has been an advocate for Western independence for, well, as long as I've been paying attention. So let's say 25 plus years. And he founded his own third-party advertiser. It's called Let Alberta Decide. And in about 3 weeks, he's raised approximately $250,000.
What?
For his third-party advertiser. And I should tell you, the cap is like 600,000. He's gonna hit that, and then that's it. He can't do any more. So he put together a pancake breakfast for Sunday at Ranchman's, which is like a dance hall, and it's very busy during the Stampede. He thought, okay, well, let's aim big and let's have 500 people register to come to this. I think that sold out in a couple of days. So we opened it back up. They were able to get more space, put it under the tent, plus outside. So this is my footage from up on a platform, and it's just packed in there, and then people are outside. I think, Efron, if you go to the Rise of Alberta, you can see the lineup like at 8:30 or so, even earlier to get in. It was like down the block. So he opened it up to 1,000. That immediately sold out. I had to like text Keith. I'm like, Keith, please, you gotta let me in. And so I went down there. This is like the lineup at like 8 o'clock in the morning to get into an event that opened at 9 in Calgary. And there's lots of other things you could do in Calgary during Stampede, but about 1,000 people were there over the course of the day, at least according to their ticket sales. It was just great. Like, and I noticed that last week, and I wrote it up for Alberta Fact Check, CBC and others were largely saying, the independence movement is just an online thing. It's not a real world thing. this seems pretty friggin' weird, real world to me, doesn't it?
You know, Sheila, the only thing that shocks me really is that the CBC didn't cover this story with a headline along the lines of Alberta separatists cause havoc as they violate the fire code in terms of room capacity.
You know, it's funny. Eva Chipiuk was there and she's like, yeah, like we have to be very careful not to violate the fire code. So we capped it at 1,000 and everything was like wristbanded so that they knew how many people were there and they had everybody's name and stuff to check them in. But yeah, it was incredible, busy, packed, and just so many friends and, like I said, fellow travelers in the independence movement there. I was happy to go there and fly the rebel flag and then fly into action and do a video when one of our Calgary team couldn't get there. So I do have a report coming out later. I do know the CBC was there. I think Jason Markusoff was there. So let's see what he says about the breakfast. I suppose I'll probably have to do a fact check on that one too by tomorrow morning. Should we move ahead and talk about Carney's message to Albertans during his Stampede visit? Go ahead.
I don't know what that message was, but I'm sure it was warmly received.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So Carney's itinerary from the PMO did not indicate a Stampede stop. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a second.
Why, oh, why would that be, Sheila Gunn-Reid?
And why, oh, why do these guys think it's going to go any different for them than the guy before them? But his message to, this is from CTV News, Carney's message to Albertans during his Stampede visit, surprise, was lead, not leave. Why can't we do both?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why can't we lead and also leave, and then also lead Saskatchewan out of the mess too? So he went there to, I don't know, pretend to be a blacksmith with his willowy arms and his osteoporotic posture and his weird wife. And he went there to, I don't know, tell us all that he's an Alberta boy. We're supposed to believe that from his residence in Ottawa, where he's writing articles in the Globe and Mail calling our fellow Albertans seditionists from his residence in Ottawa. We're supposed to believe he's just an Edmonton boy, you guys. At least his cowboy hat's on the right direction. But in speaking to CTV News on CTV News in Calgary on Sunday, Carney emphasized national unity and urged Albertans to remain at the center of Canada's future. Well, start treating us that way. As the province prepares for a fall referendum that could pave the way for a vote on separation, he said, Alberta, build not... Oh, gross. Who's writing his talking points? Build, not break. Lead, not leave. I mean, that's the Alberta I know. You don't know us at all. It's been 2 generations since you lived here. It's led the country with everything coming together at this time where Canada is poised to help lead the world. Alberta leading Canada. That's what we need. Then get out of our way, because these guys have broken the oil patch. We want to fix it. We can't do it with the anchor of Ottawa around our leg.
You know, Sheila, with this idea of lead, not leave, when you think about it, leaving is a way of leading for Alberta. The idea of being control of your own destiny. We have spoken many times, whenever there's a federal election, by the time the ballots are counted at the Ontario-Manitoba border, the fat lady is already singing, it's over. It's going to be 5 or 4 more years of liberalism and projects being, disbanded and what have you, and investment leaving. So I would argue leaving is leading.
Well, for sure. I mean, in build, not break, we didn't break anything. Don't victim blame us. We're trying to build stuff. We've been trying to build something since we came into Confederation. We can't do it with Ottawa stopping us. Don't victim blame us as though we're the ones breaking something. They broke this relationship a long time ago.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, when I look at the Quebec referenda, the last one being 1995, my feeling back then, and I was kind of ostracized about it, I was kind of ambivalent, because I would say to my family and friends and what have you, like, Quebec leaving, how does it affect me living in Toronto? Like, how does
makes
it
me
affect
richer.
me? You know,
Makes me richer.
Let me help you pack. I had a caveat. Separation means separation. It's your own nation, your own currency. None of this sovereignty association nonsense where we're independent, but we still have our fingers in the till for transfer payments, for supply management, which we will, of course, retain. But when it comes to Quebec separation, Sheila, and it really has nothing to do with the fact that I actually lived in the province of Alberta for 2 years. I am so vested in it. I am so pro-separatist.
Me too.
Because they're never going to get a good deal from this government.
Yeah, how do I join the Bloc Québécois? Like, you know what I mean? And you'll notice that nobody in Alberta on any side of the debate is proposing like a sovereignty association for Alberta. The independence-minded people want a complete severing of the relationship. We are pioneers. We are people who were pioneers, and we will continue to be pioneers in our new country. Nobody is proposing this. We get to stay, we get the perks of staying, and we get to run our own show. Why? Because there are no perks of staying for us when we are paying for anything. The Federalists are saying the status quo, it sucks, but we'll fix it. We tried. Harper tried. Everybody tried. Kenny tried. We did it their way. How many times?
Well, Sheila, sovereignty association, I think, isn't part of the discussion because you don't need it.
No, we don't.
Just develop your trillions of dollars worth of resources and get it to market. You don't need handouts from the rest of Canada.
No, not at all. And like the Prime Minister before him, Carney was booed at the Stampede. I don't know why. Just don't come to the Stampede. Let me give advice to the next Prime Minister. You don't need to come to the Stampede. If Alberta doesn't leave, don't come to the Stampede. It always ends up poorly for you. Trudeau got booed at the Stampede. What happened to Carney? Booed at the Stampede. Let's watch.
Please welcome the Right Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh my God, everyone's booing.
Everyone. I don't know a liberal rodeo person anywhere on the face of the earth, from the rodeo athletes to the people around the rodeo to like stock suppliers, rough stock suppliers, Western wear suppliers. Like, I don't know a single rodeo person who would vote Liberal. And yet they keep coming to the Stampede. I don't know why.
So, Sheila, can you explain then, why do they always show up there? I mean, yeah, I get it. It's the greatest outdoor show on earth and lots of people, but you're setting yourself up for failure. I never see a Liberal Prime Minister being cheered there. You know what's going to happen. So why subject yourself to that?
Well, that's the thing. Like, now that that's the clip of Carney's visit to the Stampede. That's it. That's everywhere now. Why do that? I think they live in a certain state of delusion where they see the approval ratings of the Eastern boomers and they think that resonates all across the country. It doesn't. It doesn't. Please remember that.
But Sheila, given the seat distribution system of our parliamentary democracy, it doesn't have to resonate across the country. That's the tragedy.
Right. And that's the thing. Don't bother coming here. You don't have any votes to pick up here. Just keep flying, go over the Rockies, go visit Vancouver, go say hey to David Eby, whatever. Just stop. Stop it. Leave us alone.
Even more so this year than ever before, with 5 floor crossings in 5 months, Sheila. This is unheard of. This is historical. Usually you see a floor crossing, I would estimate maybe every 12 to 15 years, and it's 1, right? But to have 5, to get that majority government that a year ago, April, Canadians denied you through those kind of shenanigans, I honestly used to be a supporter of our parliamentary democracy. I am now way more vested in a republic like in the US with electoral college votes to make sure that certain big cities can't sway the entire country one direction, and where you don't see this sort of floor crossing nonsense. I really mean that. I think the US, in my estimation, at my age now, it has a better system.
For sure it does, but you'll never have the opportunity to change it the way Albertans have that opportunity before us now. I think there's a real quick, easy way to fix this. You cross the floor, you go to a by-election within 90 days.
100%. 100%, you know. And then we'll see if Marilyn Gladue is still smiling like the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah. We'd have to find her to see if she's smiling first.
So here's a question for you, hypothetical, of course, so maybe it's a little unfair, Sheila, but if Alberta separation does happen, it becomes a reality in whatever year, what is the setup of the Alberta government? Do you become a republic as opposed to a parliamentary democracy?
I don't know. I think that's for Albertans to decide. Mm-hmm. You know, there's some arguments for us to stay, a constitutional monarchy. I think Albertans like our history. That's one of the reasons we like. In fact, many of us like Canada in the way it was like some 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We like that. The problem is that doesn't exist anywhere. Shreds of it still exist here, and we'd like to preserve that. Maybe for you, you can come here and visit us and feel nostalgic for the Canada you used to grow up in. We should move ahead, though, because we're running out of time. We only have 12 minutes left in the show.
Sure.
Gordie Howe Bridge.
Yes.
David, bring us up to speed on the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Well, apparently, pinky swear, it is going to open later this month. Originally, it was speculated it would open in May. Then, of course, it was announced by the Prime Minister a date and time in June, and then that was clawed back. I have to say, for a Prime Minister saying elbows up, and this is the adult in the room, the businessman, the financier, I think we don't have all the details, by the way, Sheila. But the history of the Gordie Howe Bridge, I think they first began building this beautiful structure. I've seen it. It's an absolutely gorgeous bridge. I think it goes back to 2018. And the people that own the Ambassador Bridge, that's the Moran family of Michigan, they have tried everything, including going to court. And I think Canada is 24-0 in the court in terms of wins, to not allow this bridge to come to completion. This family wants a monopoly. And therefore, with a monopoly, guess what, Sheila? You can charge whatever toll you want. The Moran family are contributors to the Republican Party. They're friends with Donald Trump. And I'm not anyone that suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not that guy, but I do call it as I see it. And even though this bridge was entirely financed by Canada, by a Canadian company, and by the way, during the building, U.S. steel and U.S. workers were used in this bridge, even though there wasn't a need for that. It was kind of an olive branch. I don't think it's much to ask that for the tolls being charged, you've got to pay off the billions of dollars you've invested. Sure. You know, you've got to pay off these contractors. And for, the U.S. to say, we want our fair share. Well, fair share of what? You had nothing to do with the building of this bridge. And it looks like they're going to get some kind of net amount in these tariffs. And Sheila, for Prime Minister Carney, the big elbows up, no one's going to mess with us. I think we got screwed, to tell you the truth, on this deal.
Well, this is exactly what BC is doing to us with the pipeline. We basically have to pay a percentage of the royalties for work they are not doing, they are not paying for. In fact, they've been nothing but obstructionist against the pipeline from the very beginning. And now, not only do we have to give them a bunch of money for all of their other busybody projects, but they want a percentage of the royalties from the pipeline for Alberta's oil that belongs to the residents of Alberta. We have to pay that to BC. So for Carney to strike that deal with BC, it'd be real hard for him to come out against a similar deal that the Americans are asking for.
Yeah, and there's the headline in CTV News. Good deal for Canada. PM Carney insists not a lot of profits to split with U.S. on Gordie Howe Bridge. Well, what's not a lot? Why can't we have disclosure? And I mean, Sheila, like, to put it in basic terms, it's like you and I, we decide we're going to run a lemonade stand, and you go out and you build the stand and you source the lemons and you get the water and you buy the sugar and you even get the little plastic cups with the lids. And I say, oh, that's great. By the way, Sheila, I want 25 cents for every cup you sell. I didn't do anything. Why am I entitled to that? How is that a good deal? And it's just like when Carney says importing Chinese EVs, which begins this year, into Canada is a good deal for the Ontario auto industry. How? It's a horrible thing, you know, this idea. So, I mean, you're not going to see the Chinese build plants in Canada to construct these. First of all, it's economically unfeasible. 80 to 90% of cars that are built in Canada, they go to the US in export. So it's not domestic consumption wouldn't justify a multi-billion-dollar auto plant. So they're just going to ship these cheap EVs over to compete against cars that are built in Canada. And Carney says that's a good deal for us. Can you solve that puzzle for me, Sheila? I have nothing.
I have nothing either. And remember, Carney is a banker. He understands these things in ways that we don't. At least that's what the Eastern boomers who vote for Liberals keep telling me. He's a banker and he's doing a good job. Can't you see? Like, I guess the point of all of this is that Carney has nothing against the Americans. Even when we have something against the Americans, we have nothing against the Americans.
Yeah. And I will tell you, at least this thing is going to open. It is complete. It's a beautiful piece of infrastructure. And by the way, for those who do not know Windsor, and by the way, I love Windsor. I think the people there are so friendly. If you like pizza, Windsor, I think, is the capital of independent pizzerias in Canada. It puts Toronto to shame in that regard. But anyways, the funny thing about Windsor, Sheila, is that Highway 401, which is the main highway right through Ontario, it comes to a complete stop at Windsor. You go from a highway going over 100 clicks an hour to residential streets. And those streets lead these truckers, these giant rigs, to the Ambassador Bridge. And it causes terrible congestion. There is environmental degradation because while you're there idling, fumes are the worst kind of fumes coming out of a tailpipe. With this, the 401 goes all the way at a highway speed to the Gordie Howe Bridge. It's fantastic for Windsor. At least I'm trying to look at the silver lining here that this will open up. And you know what, Sheila? Competition is good for our friends in the trucking industry. I mean, if you're with the Ambassador Bridge and a lot of your traffic is being diverted to the Gordie Howe Bridge, well, I don't know. What can you do? Maybe lower tolls as an incentive to keep going to the Ambassador? That is a good thing. That's capitalism. That's competition. And for all the other reasons I just mentioned, this is very good for the city of Windsor.
I want to talk about this. We got a cringe today, a cringe video we can watch. And this one hits home to me because I sometimes, when I am in Elk Island Park and I see tourists, like Japanese tourists, hanging out their car windows, looking at the bison, I sometimes have intrusive thoughts that I have to resist. And that is, Sheila, don't you lay on the horn. Don't you dare. Because I know how this goes. But anyways, before we get to that, I want to talk about this story in the National Post today. Foreign migrant living illegally in Canada is eligible for Ontario Welfare Tribunal rules. The case revealed the welfare intake workers did not conduct immigration checks of the applicant to avoid jeopardizing his ability to remain in Canada. So this guy's illegally in Canada, should be shown the door. For some reason, some welfare workers did the right thing and denied this guy welfare. So what does he do? Goes to a tribunal and says, no, you have to give me welfare. And a tribunal did. So he had come to Canada in 1997 on a temporary work permit. Although his permit expired after 4 years, he never left. He was able to support himself by breaking the law, by working cash jobs until 2023. This man has not paid a dime in taxes since 2001. So 22 years he's been illegally in the country, working under the table, not filing taxes. And then he entered the homeless shelter system and applied for welfare benefits. The administrator of the provincial social assistance program called Ontario Works, denying the man's application because of his lack of immigration status in Canada. That's a real cute way of saying he's here illegally. Mm-hmm. Despite the program staff trying to avoid flagging his immigration problem. He's in the country illegally. So what they tried to do was, even though he is in the country illegally applied for welfare, they knew he was not eligible. They tried to sort of shuffle things around so that it didn't tick off anything in the system that would get him deported. And then it goes on to say that he despite the fact that he has no status, he should not be denied benefits.
Well, Sheila, I have two thoughts. One is you, me, our colleagues at Rebel News, our viewers, we're all idiots, that we're getting up
what
early.
What am I doing working for a living? I'm getting up at 5.
We're working our asses off, sometimes going out in the field, getting abused, you name it. And meanwhile, this guy, since 1996, I'd love to be able to do the math. I'd love to know what the numbers are of how much this guy has sucked from the taxpayer teat. This guy's just cruising through life, not doing anything. And it's somehow he is our responsibility. But I will say this, here's the good news. Here's the silver lining. I mean, Doug Ford has been a colossal disappointment. But on this file, I saw him post something where he said he's going to do everything he can to change this system so that this does not happen again. And so he should, Sheila. He's not even a citizen. That automatically disqualifies you from benefits, no?
It should. And I wrote this up this morning for my other little project. And you are right. Like, what are we doing working so hard for a living?
Yeah.
I'm getting up at 5, doing Alberta Fact Check with Corey Morgan. Then I have this other little project that it doesn't quite have a name yet, but where I pay attention to tribunals and judges and their bad rulings. And so this is one of the things that I worked on for that. And then I do all my regular work at Rebel News, which I think used to be done by at least 3 different people. It's all been amalgamated into Sheila's purview. And then in the evenings, I go out and give lawn signs for my third-party advertiser, and this guy's just working for cash under the table for 21 years. And then when he runs out of get up and go, I guess, he gets on the welfare system. And the adjudicator, this is what the adjudicator wrote. By the way, adjudicator Eric Brown, your name should be in the headline.
Yeah.
He says, the applicant reasonably fell outside of the meaning of both tourist and visitor. Okay, well, that's how he got here. So get out. If you fall outside of that at any point, including after the time frame of your original permit, get out. You don't belong here. But then the judge or the adjudicator, sorry, this is just a tribunal adjudicator. He's not actually anything to anybody. He says, because he fell outside of both tourist and visitor, given, I guess, the sheer length of time he was able to get away with this. He said, given the sheer length of time and the routes the appellant had established while in Canada, what routes he was in a homeless shelter. But just based on the fact that he was able to get away with this for 2+ decades, we should give this guy a free pass. And here comes my condemnation of the CBSA and the immigration system. No evidence was presented at the tribunal that he had been ordered out of Canada by federal immigration officials. So I guess because the immigration officials didn't do their job, he should get a pass. Not just a pass, a freebie.
Well, Sheila, as I've said so often, we need a new slogan for our Dominion. Put it up at international bridge crossings, put it in international airports. Welcome to Canada, where we penalize the makers and reward the takers. This is happening so often. And, I'm surprised. And you know what? I'll go even further. Even if this guy had a criminal record, doesn't matter. That ruling would stand. I guess it's another example, Professor Saad's, book, Suicidal Empathy. Just smother the worst of the worst with love and I guess hope for the best. But do we even know, is this guy, has he contributed anything since 1996? That is what, 30 years?
Yeah,
30 years.
He has been in the country illegally for like 25 years.
How do we owe him anything? And Efren, can you get Doug Ford's statement up again? I'll read it verbatim. Here we are, Sheila. Our government will always be there to support people on hard times, but that doesn't include people living in Canada illegally. If provincial regulations need to be changed to make that crystal clear, we'll change them. Speaking of fact checking, Sheila, we should hold the premier to that. They've got another 3 years in office at least. So let's get them changed instead of this being rhetoric. But it's kind of nice to see Doug Ford break into the kind of guy he was before he became premier.
But the only time we're going to be able to ask Doug Ford a question about this is the next time he comes to Alberta, because our provincial government lets us into those press conferences and yours doesn't. So the only time Doug Ford faces a tough rebel question is here in Alberta, because Daniel Smith lets us in.
Yes, and God bless Angelica Toy for going out there and asking those tough questions.
That Trudeau a tough question, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do a couple of these. And by the way, it's not just provincial benefits that these guys are getting. They get all the federal benefits. Like they're taking CCB for children that don't live in the country with them.
Yep.
That's wild. Anyway.
And we've done several videos. It was our fantastic colleague Lincoln J that got the ball rolling on the Gypsy/Roma. Evidently you're not allowed to call gypsies, but anyways, all the begging scams they do. It's like an organized shakedown, and people will say, well, why are you going after people begging on the streets? Well, here's why. They are taking advantage of every possible social program there is. And you are really taking advantage of Good Samaritans who think they're helping somebody in need, but they're parasites. And this should be called out because this problem is getting bigger all across Canada as well, Sheila. Again, reward the takers, penalize the makers.
Absolutely. Let's hit a couple of these chats if we have them, and then we'll do the cringe. We'll wrap up. We've got Cat4593 has become a partial premium member. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've got one chat here. JP Alberta First gives us $5 talking about Mark Carney and the Stampede. I thought he went last year as well and booed then too. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Right. By the way, Sheila, speaking of Alberta First, I saw some story. I can't remember the town or whatever. It was some sort of parade, and they were talking about, I think they had to cancel it. I might not have all my facts, but they were talking, the crux of the article was that Alberta separatists were harassing volunteers.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. I got all the
what's
emails.
The story? I knew it. I had that feeling. I said, this is BS. The needle on my bullshit detector is going heavily into the red. How did this story start? What's the real story?
Okay, so Sundre, Alberta.
That's
rural. It's on the foothills. Yeah. They had a float entered into their rodeo parade. I want to be clear. The Pro Rodeo Association is different from the Pro Rodeo Parade board. So I want to just be clear. I want to separate the two. Don't bother the people at the Pro Rodeo Association. They didn't have a lot to do with this decision. But the Pro Rodeo Parade board, a guy entered a parade that, now the guy may be a separatist. In fact, I talked to him. He is a separatist, but that's neither here nor there. You're allowed to hold those views. It's not illegal. He was trying to enter a parade into the float, and it was initially accepted. That was just pure Alberta. It was just a parade float covered in Alberta flags. I feel like that's perfectly acceptable at a rodeo parade when, by the way, rodeo is our provincial sport. So anyway, then there was a freak out on the rodeo parade board. They canceled his float. So then they didn't know what to do because then there was community backlash about, sorry, I should back up a second. They canceled his float after the Forever Canada lunatics put pressure on the rodeo parade board. Then the people on the other side were like, what are you doing? You're canceling us, but you let everybody else in? So then the rodeo parade people didn't know what to do, and they canceled the parade, which has been going since the 1930s, I think, maybe even a little more, since the 1930s, consistently, every single year. The community loves it. So what did the independence-minded people do? Reorganize their own parade. 500 vehicles participated in it,
wow,
which would have been like a 50 or 75 float parade. Ended up with 500 plus people just driving through town all day handing out candy. So careful what you wish for, jerks. That's the more story.
Actually, the only missing element is how did this absolute lie come to fruition that volunteers were being harassed by pro-Alberta separatists?
You got to say something, right? You got to say something.
That's astonishing.
And I was privy to the emails. I ran into the man when I went out to Sundre for the story, because I'm not one to miss a rodeo or a parade. So I ran out there to do the story. And I ran into the guy on the street because he took all the flags off his float and gave them to everybody who was participating, or at least a lot of the people, because way more people than he thought would show up. Wow. He gave out his flags to the people who were coming to participate in the replacement parade. And I ran into him and I saw all the emails back and forth. And there was nothing, no indicator of threats or anything. Nothing like that. If there were threats, you know what's illegal? Threats. Call the police. But nobody did, right? Like, let the police handle this and conduct the parade as normal. Instead, they freaked out, used an excuse of threats as a reason to cancel the parade, which has, like I said, it's nearly 100 years old. Just something I didn't expect from Sundre or a rodeo parade board.
Well, Sheila, first of all, I knew you would know the story, and thank you for telling it. And secondly, this goes back to the beginning of the show. We were talking about boomers getting all their information from the mainstream media and not questioning it. Because somebody seeing the story I saw went, well, these separatists, what kind of thugs are they? Harassing volunteers that just want to put on a family-friendly parade. Unbelievable. How low can you go?
Can I also tell you something else? When I was standing there covering the parade, the volunteers from the rodeo board, the parade board, were there. They sure as hell weren't scared that day. They were standing watching the 500 people drive by catching candy. So you guys weren't scared. If you had some threats against your life by these dangerous separatists, you wouldn't be out standing on the parade route watching them all go by.
Good point. So
liars.
Yeah, total lie.
Liars. Anyway, we got another chat. P. Schofield 10, $5. Lead not lead, build not break. No, little Mark. How about being honest for once in your miserable life and tell it like it is? Pay, don't go.
Yeah.
All right. There was, I alluded to this earlier. I know we're over time, and I know I said we had to wrap up on time, but whatever. I don't care. I make my own schedule. Yellowstone, this happens every single year. Don't bother the bison. I say this to someone who lives next door to Elk Island Park. And I know sometimes I get that intrusive thought. I want to honk the horn at the Japanese tourists who are like running up to take pictures of the baby bison. And I think, I could just cause a stampede right now. But I never let those thoughts get the best of me. Don't approach the bison, especially right now. Their babies are little. Don't get in between a mama bison and her babies. And you don't know where the babies are. Anyways, got tourists approaching the bison again in Yellowstone. So let's watch.
These are the heart-stopping moments. A grandfather was attacked by a bison at Yellowstone National Park. The dramatic video posted online by a professional photographer shows a bison, which can weigh more than 1,500 pounds, charging after the 65-year-old, flipping him into the air. You see the man and his grandchild stop to take photos of the bison. Seconds later, the massive mammal then charges, chasing the family around trees before the man is thrown multiple feet into the air, seriously injuring him.
Look out, bison!
Another video shows the bison running past tents at a campsite before the incident. The grandfather is lucky to be alive. Millions of people visit Yellowstone every year to see the park's famous wildlife. Unfortunately, this is not the first time we've seen bison charging tourists.
As for that 65-year-old, he was hospitalized and is recovering from his injuries. Now, Yellowstone National Park warns people to keep at least 25 yards away from bison at all times.
Enough.
And if too close, you are warned to retreat immediately.
Yeah, it's too close. 25 yards is still too close. That's like 75 feet. Don't. And if you see a mama bison and her baby, don't stop to take a photo. And don't get out of your vehicle. You're fine in your car. Take a picture from there. Don't get out.
You know, Sheila, it reminds me, I'm a fan of the Darwin Awards books, and it's about the most stupid ways people have died. And there was one story there, I think it was a German couple, and they were at one of these African lion safari parks. We have one in southern Ontario.
Yeah, I got a story. I'll let you finish your story. I got a story about that park.
Oh, okay. So all along the route, you drive your car and you go through the landscape and you see, prides of lions, you see monkeys, elephants, you name it. And you can't go more than 100 meters with signs saying, keep your windows rolled up, do not leave your vehicle, right? Over and over and over again, which should be common sense, but never mind. So the story in the Darwin Awards, it was this German couple, they were photo buffs. They stopped the car, they get out with their cameras, they're taking pictures of the lions, and the lions are slowly coming down the berm because they've probably seen this before, but it always ends with the people getting into the car and driving off, so they're not hopeful of prey. But when they got close enough for the couple to say, time to split, they reach for the doors, they're locked, and the keys are in the ignition. I don't have to tell you what happens next, right? Why would you lock your doors when you're getting out in the midst of all like 40 or 50 lions? It's just crazy. But anyhow, your story, Sheila.
I've got a story from that exact park. Many of the regular viewers will know that my mother was a refugee from Ontario. She actually hitchhiked here with her brother during the golden age of serial killers, just to find a new life in Alberta. No offense to Mount Forest, Ontario. I spent a lot of time there. My mom's hometown. All my cousins are still there, including the children of my Uncle Mike, who we affectionately knew as Uncle Monkey. And Uncle Monkey one year decided to take us all. I think it was a Pontiac Grand Am. My cousins will correct me if I'm wrong. I was pretty little at the time. Decided to take us to this safari park. And he was very proud of his car. And as we were going through, monkeys attacked it. Damaged the car. Now looking back, I'm like, Uncle Monkey's car was attacked by monkeys at that safari park. So yeah, wildlife be crazy.
Yeah, I remember back in the, it's not a thing anymore, and hopefully it'll never be a thing, but you couldn't go through the park with a vinyl roof, right?
Oh, no. Yeah.
And please, dear viewers, can anyone explain the logic behind the vinyl roof? I mean, it's one of these auto atrocities. How did it even begin, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that is... Yeah. Why would you put a vinyl roof on a car?
No. Crazy.
All right. I think that's the show. Unless, Efron, am I missing any chats? No, I think we got her. Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, Sheila, it was a delight. Things have been so busy. A lot of people say things slow down in the summer. I'm waiting for that to happen, not here at Rebel News. So it's been a while since we co-hosted. So thank you for that. And thank you to all our viewers, especially those who made a contribution. It's how we keep the lights on. Tomorrow, you get more. Yes, more of Sheila Gunn Reid with the adorable Lise Merle.
I think we got a sub for Lise this week. I think she's gallivanting still with her children.
Oh, I made a mistake. So who's your partner for tomorrow, Sheila?
No clue.
Okay. Mystery guess. We'll let you...
Stay tuned. We'll find out together.
Maybe what we should do these days is, when we don't know who's co-hosting, we have a poll. And... If the viewers pick you, too bad. You're coming in to do the show. So anyways, I'll run that by the team. In the meantime, folks, as always, stay safe and stay sane.